Welcome to Change Coach Conversation number 12, how change really happens. So sometimes I refer to this as the ironic way that change really happens because it is ironic. Change happens. It's ironic, but it's also totally natural and makes perfect sense. When we think about change, when we think about going about change, there's something that we want to change, a habit we want to break, anxiety or depression we want to stop, something about our personality or our tendencies that we'd like to change. Of course, we hone in on that problem and it looks like a problem. And that part is very important. We hone in on, here's how I'm drinking, feeling, eating, speaking to people, whatever it is. And we get hyper focused on that and we see all the problems with it. And it looks to be a real solid thing. It just does, for all of us, it just looks to be a solid thing that is this way, and we want it to be this way. So we're hyper focused, it's solid, it's stable, we don't like it. And our mind goes to work for us, as it always is, trying to find ways to make that show up differently. How do I drink less? How do I eat less? How do I speak to my kids in a kinder way? How do I find more patience? How do I stop being so jealous? From this place of I'm a solid me and there is a problem here, and I'm in my psychology, my limited thinking, okay, this is wrong, 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 fix it, fix it, fix it. Can you sense how, I just feel the walls coming in as I say this, like how limited it is and how we're relying on our mind to come up. Our mind, that by the way, is sort of the problem. There's not really even a problem, but our mind is the one that's constantly telling us to drink, eat, you should be jealous, this is wrong. Our mind is doing that. Our identification with that kind of is the problem. Again, if there's a problem, if there's a source of suffering, that's the suffering. Is our mind is spitting something out over and over, and we're identified with that. That looks like all there is. So when we try to change, we try to solve these problems, we're going in with that same mind saying, I don't like what you did yesterday, so let's make you do something else. And then it's just kind of a mess. It's kind of a mess. And it relies on, new ideas from a very limited source. The mind that's creating the problem is the one trying to come up with the ideas. And then if some ideas are there, or you read them in a book, or someone gives you some behavioral advice or whatever, it relies on this mind to put those into action. That's why it feels hard, like willpower and work and effort and forcing. And there's nothing wrong with hard work. I work hard. Everybody works hard all the time. It's not that we need an easy, effortless way. It's that it's uphill and it feels uphill and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And we know that. So that's how the world in general is going about change. And it makes sense on the face of it. And it's all we've ever seen and it's all we've ever known, and it doesn't work. And where we look, the ironic way that change really happens, where we get to point people is a completely different path. See, we know that nothing is solid. Yes, it appears solid. It appears that I have this habit for this long, and here's how it went yesterday, and here's how it's likely to go. And all of that is a mind telling a story. All of that is a mind painting this linear picture of how it was and how it's likely to be, and then needing to solve for that. It feels solid. It feels personal. We feel stuck. But we aren't. That is the misunderstanding. That is us being caught up in the illusion and identified with our thinking. So what we start to see is, hey, life is fluid. Things are always changing. This sense of me with this problem is a thought too. That is a thought too. I know it's a really real one, a really compelling feeling one. But that's a thought too. I'm a me separate from all of that, and I have a problem is a thought. And it is as fluid as the rest, because no matter how big your problem feels, sometimes it's not even there. It literally doesn't exist when it's not being thought. So we come in this very, very, very different way. And we see that life is in flux all the time. That is the nature of this. It is constantly changing. We don't need to come up with these strategies and make it all hard. It is nature. It's happening all the time. We're just looking from this mind, in a sense, from thought, and we're seeing something that looks really solid. But we want to look in a different direction. And we see that beyond all these ideas and identities, flux and change are unavoidable. They're always happening. So when we start to see ourselves as fluid, not even ourself, we start to see that the idea of a self is fluid. All of life is fluid. Thoughts and feelings and moods and cravings and urges, they come and go all the time. We feel into this bigger space where there just isn't this sticky, solid problem to solve. And then we get more and more comfortable there and we hang out there more and more, and that starts to feel right. And we just don't have these repetitive habits so much. We get comfortable feeling. We get comfortable feeling anything that comes our way, thoughts, feelings, like all of it. And when we're in all of that and it isn't so horrible because we don't feel like a me that's stuck in this, when it's just what's showing up and we know it's safe, habits don't make sense. Well, what's the point? There's no need for a habit when there's nothing to cope with. So this is why I call it ironic, because change doesn't need your help. Like, change is the nature of things. It's always happening, always, always. We just don't see it because we're identified with so much thinking that says, no, I'm a me and here's how it was supposed to go. So when we shift that, we start to point in a different direction, you feel the change that's already always been happening. You see it, you notice it, and you get to just ride the wave of that. So I hope this is helpful to give you a different sense of how we work with people as change coaches in a completely different way than anything anyone else out there, and why it's so effective. I mean, why it's so deep and long lasting, and it truly is. And if you would love to learn how to do this for yourself first, experience this in your own life, deepen your own grounding in this, and then learn to support others in this way, please join me in the Change Coach training program that starts in January. At the time of this recording, it's almost full, so let me know if you'd like to hear more about it. It's an amazing training, and it shares this amazing understanding, and I'd love to have you. So thank